Hey, Brandon, where's your coat and tie?
Oh my God. Why did you wait for the recording to do that, Doug?
Well, we might as well try and get it started, huh?
Okay.
So let's call this meeting to order. It is now, looks like 12:03. I'd like to welcome everybody to the first monthly LTCC meeting by Zoom. First of all, I'd like to give a shout out to Kristen, who's been really, staying on the ball and getting this all set up, as well as James, who's also been very active, and Kisa as well. They've been very instrumental in keeping LTC or getting LTCC out in front of the public. I'm sure, hopefully, most of you know, and we'll get reports later on in the meeting about all the activities that have been going on in the Little Tokyo area, and in large part has to do with the efforts of Kristen, Kisa, and Scott, so and James, for that matter. So maybe if we can put the minutes up on the screen, that's the kind of the first order of business, is to look over last month's. Actually, it's been 2 months now, huh? It's February.
Yes.
Since we didn't have our March meeting.
Share my screen. So for anyone who's calling in, I apologize that you're not able to also see my screen, but if you were able to get the links in advance, we did send out the drive that has these minutes in it, and we can send it out again afterwards. If you are worried that I don't have your contact information, feel free to message it to me directly in the Zoom. There's a way to direct your Zoom chat to just one person. If you, again, because you've called in, can't access the Zoom chat, you can email it to me at Kristin, Kristin, at littletokyola.org. Yes, and you could try to contact us through our website. There's a couple different ways. So right now, hopefully folks have the ability to both see the minutes from my screen as well as through your own devices. And then Doug, whenever you're ready, we could make the motion.
Okay. Yeah, kind of awkward, but do we have can I get a motion at least to approve the minutes from someone? Raise your hand or do a reaction with a thumbs up. I think people are muted, so.
Sorry, yeah, I am not gonna unmute everyone because that is chaos, but if someone from the audience,
this is Bill. I move to approve.
Thank you. And then we have thumbs ups from
Jim,
Linda Clement. Oh, yes.
Jim Sherrod, second.
Great. Thank you, Jim. That was Jim from the library. Hi, Jim. So, Doug.
Okay. Do we have any corrections or additions to the minutes? Okay, if not, I'd like to call the question. All in favor of approving the minutes, raise your hand. Okay. Any disagreements or any opposed? Okay, any abstentions? Looks like motion carries. Okay, good deal. Okay, so I think at this point, I'm going to hand it back over to Kristen, and she's going to kind of give us an update of what's been happening in Little Tokyo.
Yes, thank you. And before we do that, I know we normally have introductions, and it would be a little bit chaotic to try to do that with right now 46 people. So I'm going to just read through the list of names I see, and I will also take a screenshot of the list of participants so we can make sure they're recorded in the notes. But right now we have myself. Hi, I'm Kristen Fukushima with the Little Tokyo Community Council. And then we have Bill Watanabe from Little Tokyo Historical Society, Doug Ihata, LTCC President, and also Ihata and Associates, Mia Iwataki from the Tokyo Historical Society, a number I don't recognize. I will get back and inquire as to who you are. Alan Kumamoto from Maryknoll and Little Tokyo Community Council, Alexandra Garcia from Muda, Andy from Gopher Broke, Brandon Leong from Cato, Carol Zoll from Little Tokyo Service Center, Carolina from Japanese American Culture and Community Center, Chris Komai from Little Tokyo Community Council and Rafu Shimpo, Clement Hanami from JANM and Little Tokyo Community Council, Darren, I assume this is Darren Maki as in Craft by Maki, the store on First Street. Gotta assume I'm right. Emily from, I think, IHO, Innovative Housing Opportunities, Eric from Little Tokyo Service Center, Aaron from Go for Broke, Grant Sanu from Little Tokyo Service Center, Gwen from the Rafu Shimpo and Little Tokyo Community Council, Helen Ota from JCCC, Jan Fukuhara from Little Tokyo Community Council and Tadamachi, Janice Yen from NCRR, Nikkei for Civil Rights and Redress, Janice Wong, oh my gosh, I know we have met. I'm so sorry, I don't remember where you're from, but you could tell us in the comments. JC Montenegro from Metro, Jennifer from the Consul General of Japan, Jim from the Little Tokyo Library, John Kaji from Kaji and Associates, Catherine Banai from the Little Tokyo Community Council and lives in Mura, Jean Kawakami from Nihon Ganji Buddhist Temple, Kisa Ito from Go Little Tokyo, Linda Akutagawa from Leadership Education for Asian Pacifics, Matthew Shima from Shima Therapy, a new business on First Street, Megan, I assume this is Megan Tadamoto from Little Tokyo Service Center, Mel Wong from Union Church and Sustain Little Tokyo, Mike Okamoto from Little Tokyo Business Association and Nisei Week, Nikki from Little Tokyo Service Center, Rick Noguchi from JANM, Bob Kohata from Little Tokyo Towers, yes, Rochelle Mills from Innovative Housing Opportunity, Rob Smith from Savoy, Scott Oshima from Sustainable Little Tokyo and JACCC, Seth from JANM, Serapia, I'm so sorry, I forgot, but from Assembly Member Miguel Santiago's office, Stephanie Nidahara from Kizuna, Suzy Katsura from NCRR, Nikkei for Civil Rights and Redress, Wendy Cardona from Metro, and Reverend Briones from Nishihon Ganji Buddhist Temple and LTCC, and Yukio from Little Tokyo Community Council and Little Tokyo Historical Society. Great. There was one person I did not call out because your name on this is a number. I'm going to unmute you if you want to just introduce yourself very quickly. 464955. Okay, well, you can always type it in the chat box if you would like to introduce yourself. And if not, so how we're going to handle today, we have a pretty robust agenda. I will send it out in the comments again. I'm going to have most people muted as we go through a lot of the reports. There'll be moments when I open it up and folks can comment, but in the meantime, I encourage people to take advantage of the chat function as a way to ask your questions or provide comment. Again, that should be a function you can find at the bottom of your Zoom screen that you're looking at. And to start, will be doing a quick presentation from myself. This is a thing that I usually do for these. So and just a reminder again, we are recording this. So just keep that in mind for your face. Okay, is there a way I can make this? How do I, oh no. Scott, gonna need help. Well, that's okay. I guess I don't care that much. Okay, so Little Tokyo Community Council updates. The first thing is there are a lot of things happening right now. I'm not gonna go too much into all of the community updates because I know there are folks from many organizations here who will be sharing their own updates. What I can share from the Community Council is, like everyone else, we are canceling a lot of things. So Little Tokyo Sparkle is not happening this month. The Little Tokyo Community Council dance will not be happening in a couple weeks. Delicious Little Tokyo is going virtual, and Kisa will share that with us in a few minutes. Haunted Little Tokyo Block Party, we are also assuming that is something that will not be able to happen this year. So, oh, present, hello. I figured it out. So we haven't had that full conversation yet, but I think that it can be assumed at this point. For COVID-19 things in general, hopefully everyone knows that Safer at Home is currently extended until mid-May. We are continuing to track what decisions the city and the county and the state make. For Little Tokyo, we know that as a community, we have been impacted and hit pretty hard and fast because of the makeup and nature of our community. We are a community made up of a lot of small businesses. So of course, with those being some of the folks at the front lines of who's being hit, we saw a lot of businesses needing to close or being mandated to close. Currently, there are only 50 to 60 businesses that remain open. We are, through the efforts of our small business counselors and Go Little Tokyo, really trying to keep track of who is still open for business. So this link here, the tinyurl.com/Go Little Tokyo, that is the list of open businesses, and we really try to keep that as live and current as possible. Thank you to the folks who helped work on that list. There's also a lot of support programs and collaborations that are ongoing, which we'll go through as we hear from everyone else. But I think that one thing that I'm starting to think about more for myself and for LTCC and the whole neighborhood is, I think when this first started, we really thought this was we just need to get through the next couple months and then, go back to business as normal. And I think we're now accepting that, there's not really a going back to business as normal. So what does it look like for our neighborhood, our community, our institutions, our businesses, our residents, and kind of everyone if we are not fully opening in the way that we are used to living our life, how do we move through all of this as Little Tokyo? How does that affect events? How does it affect the financial sustainability of everyone and kind of all that? So I think that's just something we've been running really fast to keep up with the moment. And now I think it's time to also start thinking about how do we forecast to the future, both for ourselves and then also for our whole neighborhood. So again, because other folks will be giving their own reports, I will not be spending much time on Tiffany at all, but I do want to point out LTCC continues to have this page, littletokyola.org/loveLT, as our home base for a lot of the COVID-19 and business support work. That is where you can find the link to that full list of businesses I mentioned, as well as the flyers that talk about which businesses are open. There's also links to the virtual programming. Things that are somewhat mentioned on that site are these different business support initiatives. So that includes Little Tokyo Eats, which LTSC will talk about. That was the program that Cato has funded. Teta Meals is something that's kind of individually happening between Tetamachi and some of the small businesses, but that is a really exciting way that a residential building is supporting small businesses in the neighborhood. I'm sure Cato is also talking about this, but they are also doing facility meals. In general, Go Little Tokyo is running the #LoveLittleTokyo campaign. Kisa will be talking about that. I'm about to talk about community feeding community, and then I think still pending, we do want to think about what it would look like to create a community GoFundMe. Kisa will talk about marketing in Go Little Tokyo, and Megan will talk about small business assistance. But I wanted to sort of just set the tone for all the reports you'll hear, because I think once we go through all of them, it'll be a little bit overwhelming, or it's a lot of information at once, and I wanted to at least let folks see what does that full snapshot look like before we start breaking things down piece by piece. Other things happening, I went too far. So other things happening, there are resident support initiatives, which again, you'll hear from. That includes the work LTSC is doing from Little Tokyo Eats to other resident services. I think an ongoing gap is still this idea of how can we create systems that allow younger residents to provide support for senior residents, especially those that are not being currently served by LTSC's resident services. So that can be a conversation towards the end of the meeting if we have time for it. And then I know Scott or Michelle from JACCC will be going through the different virtual programs that are out there right now. But just to say, if you ever like, what can I do at home that lets me connect with folks from Little Tokyo? This website, littletokyola.com/virtual-programs, is where we're really trying to capture all of that content. So there's a one-stop shop that lets you see what the neighborhood is up to. Unfortunately, time has not completely stopped. So a lot of things are still ongoing as we're going through this pandemic crisis, and that is also overwhelming. So we didn't meet in March, which means that we never announced publicly as the Little Tokyo Community Council who won the CD14 election. You probably know this, but Kevin De Leon won the primary and was able to avoid a runoff by achieving more than 50% of the vote. So he is now our incoming council member and will start January 2021. Regional connector construction continues, and JC is with us from Metro to a little bit later provide a report about how construction is both ongoing and, if anything, kind of ramping up to take advantage of the Safer at Home mandate. West Santa Ana branch, that new metro project also continues to do their work to conduct their environmental review and all the scoping. We are planning to continue working on it once we kind of figure out how to balance all the different work areas happening right now. We have, for the last couple months, been talking about, what's going on at Little Tokyo Towers and how are we as a community thinking about what this means for all of us as neighbors. The LTCC will be providing their Budokan construction update, but their construction is also ongoing. JCC, I will let them talk about the Culinary Center. And the last two, I will just say, there are still ongoing street improvement construction works for the active transportation project. It is very close to being completed, which is exciting. We probably won't get to have the groundbreaking party that we wanted to have, but it is still exciting that we'll have new crosswalks and new elements for Little Tokyo. And there is the First Street North campaign and mangrove stuff, and I think that is part of the sustainable report. So again, I will skip that. So I'm now very quickly going to talk about community feeding community and then hand it off to Kisa to kind of continue with the marketing and Go Little Tokyo part of all of this work. Community feeding community is a program that was created by Nancy Yap from Leadership Education for Asian Pacifics, James Choi from Cafe Dulce, and then myself from Little Tokyo Community Council. The idea is that we want to both support our small businesses as well as folks in the neighborhood whose jobs may have been impacted by COVID-19 closures, whether that is layoffs and furloughs or a reduction in staff hours, or in general, just sort of understanding that our households are being impacted in different ways. So with the money that is provided to us, we are able to, so $15 to CFC, Community Feeding Community, is able to buy one meal that goes to a person. With that $15, that includes the price of the meal plus tip and tax. And we have been running now for 5 weeks. It is very exciting. Things that I want to highlight just very quickly, because again, trying to run through this very fast, is we have been able to raise $60,000 with 300 donors. Thank you to everyone who has donated and supported. It really means a lot. And because we've been able to raise this much money so far, we've really been able to grow our impact and really realize that we are at a place now where we can at least cycle through all the businesses that are open right now in Little Tokyo at least twice. And the more money we raise, the more times we'll be able to go through that cycle and also increase the number of meals we buy. Right now we have served, or after this Saturday, we'll have served 1,345 meals, and that comes from 43 businesses. We're planning to run this program through the end of May, but I think that it would be nice to continue the program even after May, because it seems like we will be in a hard situation for the whole neighborhood and everyone who is part of this community for quite some time. So we both want to see how we can continue the program, but also continue to grow our impact to each business. Again, after next Saturday, we will have purchase from every open restaurant in Little Tokyo. So that's really exciting. And then we can start our cycle again. And right now our goal is to spend, I think it's $2,000 to $3,000 a business. And that number is based on some calculations of like, what is the cost of a staff person for a business? We recognize that a lot of the businesses that are still open are really open just to make sure their staff still have a job and get an income. And that is really wonderful and amazing. And we want to support that, because I think it is actually maybe a little bit cheaper to just close down entirely and not have that overhead. So it's really wonderful that our businesses are so generous and want to look out for their staff. They even continue to try to donate things to this program. We're like, that is not the intention. Please stop trying to donate things to us. So yeah, so that's how Community Feeding Community is going. Thank you again to everyone who has helped us out. We really appreciate the support. Thank you to Lee for all the help there, to Cafe Dulce for everything they've done, and just again to everyone who has supported us so far. We're very excited about it. The other things on this slideshow are usual, like we have committee meetings. They do still happen. It just isn't like this meeting right now through Zoom. We also still have membership. You can still be a member. Thank you. And that is the end of this presentation. I'm hoping this is my shortest presentation ever. And I am going to look to see if there are chat boxes. Great. Okay, that's me. I'm done with that. Are there any, if there's questions, we'll take it through the chat. And otherwise, I'm just going to now have us go to Kisa Kisa, if you can unmute
Hello.
yourself.
Hi.
Great.
Okay, so I will try to also share my screen. Oh, I have to push share. That's funny. All right, so hopefully you can all see my browser here. I'm going to just kind of walk you through some of our efforts very quickly, just as Kristen very briskly walked through hers. We are running our typical Go Little Tokyo marketing efforts, social media, website, also working with a press team to get some stuff out in the news and on TV as much as possible. So I'm starting here on Instagram. We recently reached 10,000 followers, which was very exciting. A very big thank you to all of our very close friends who did shout outs for us on their personal accounts to help us get to this number. It's been great because it unlocks a couple of features, including the swipe up feature, which for those of you who aren't familiar with Instagram, means that we can directly link a business's website to our post on Instagram stories. So when people are just casually clicking through, then they can easily access what I'm referring to. Okay, there's something in the chat. Just want to make sure. Oh, okay. Thank you, Clement. Hold on. I'm sorry. Don't know what the Clement thing is. I will click on it later. So just so you know, this is what our Instagram page looks like. If you don't follow us yet, please do. We post updates every day on different restaurants. We try to do highlights. If you're a business owner, please let us know how we can support you, and we are happy to link to anything on your page. We also have Facebook activity here. So again, if you're not following us, please do. We have quite a bit smaller audience on Facebook, so we'd love to grow that. And we're getting more active here, trying to repost things. So if you or your organization post things about Little Tokyo, please tag us so that we can share it out. We are also active on Twitter, though not as much, so feel free to follow us. I would say Instagram and Facebook are probably the best ways for us to stay in contact with you. And if you are hoping to share out any Little Tokyo information, it'd be good to send people to Instagram and Facebook. And going to our website that Kristen mentioned, the Love LT page. So this is the main page for the Little Tokyo LA website, the LTCC website. And so you get to the home page, which is, it's very simple to find, littletokyola.org. Once you get to the home page, there's a lot of different options here to find the information you might be looking for. There's community feeding community, virtual programs. We generally send people to this main page. If you click on learn how to support. Oh, okay, good. The button is working. It will send you to the Love LT page that Kristen described. This information is as up to date as possible. We make changes on this page quite often. We also added a Japanese translation here if you're in need of that, or if you know somebody who would be more comfortable with the Japanese web page, we have that available. There is information all over this website. I think what is most important to point all of you to, of course, aside from the community feeding community program, is this open for business section. So we have a food and drink area. If you click on that, it'll drop you down to where we have a restaurant guide. You can download this restaurant guide if you click on this button. It's a 4-page restaurant guide that it's also visible here in this little corner. But if you download it, you'll be able to see it full size. It's a PDF of different guides that are separated by geography. So there's like a First Street guide, there's a Weller Court guide, so you'll be able to find what you're looking for through these guides. And then if you'd like more information, you can click on this button here, the click to view the spreadsheet. Click on this. This will take you to a Google Sheet. It's hopefully as comprehensive as it can be. Again, if you notice anything that needs to be updated, please let me know and I will change it or make updates. We have Instagram handles here, websites, phone numbers, addresses, and if they're serving on any delivery platforms, we've included that there also. Okay. So as Kristen mentioned, we also have our programs coming up. So we are trying to promote Mother's Day, which is coming up soon. Oh, thank you, Irene. We're promoting Mother's Day soon. So if you have a Mother's Day promotion that you would like to get out into the public, please let me know. We're building out a special page on the website with this information so that people can find it on our on the LTCC page and also have access to it after Mother's Day. So if you are continuing your promotion or you want to have another special promotion, we can highlight it on our website. We also have been sending out an e-newsletter, which I'm assuming or hoping that many of you here received last week or perhaps 2 weeks ago. We'll be sending another one with all of the Mother's Day promotions. So if you have not signed up for the Go Little Tokyo newsletter, please do so by emailing me or joining on our website, which is a little bit confusing because that's the golittlетokyo.com website, but feel free to email me if that's easier. And I think finally I have some information about Delicious, but I noticed that's on the agenda for later. So I think we will talk about that later, or does Kristen want me to talk about it now? Now, okay. So Delicious, Kristen mentioned it is now going to be structured as a month-long program, which means that we've changed it quite a bit. It's typically one weekend, a public event held in Little Tokyo. We try to bring people into the community for workshops. We are really kind of doing very similar programs. We're still going to have workshops. We want to have some live interviews with business owners. And we also want to encourage people to order takeout and delivery. So what we're doing is extending it to be a month-long period so that we can have as long of a time to run this campaign as possible. We had considered doing it, for a week or 2 weeks, but we thought, why not just spread it out for a month? So it will include not only the month-long push to be engaged and support Little Tokyo, but also weekly themes so that people can, celebrate all the different ramen for 1 week or celebrate all of the different matcha items in Little Tokyo for another week. And it'll be a good way for us to kind of highlight businesses that it may seem like they have competing items, but we just like to celebrate the differences between all of them and what makes them unique. So we'll try to frame it in a different way and really emphasize the community and how the businesses are supporting each other at this time. But of course, all of this will be shared on social media, so please do follow us. That's the best way to stay in touch. And I'm always available on email if you would like to send us a suggestion or you have a question. I'm wide open for that, so please reach out anytime. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Kisa. And then I think Kisa might have briefly mentioned this, but just to re-emphasize for Mother's Day coming up, we are excited that there will be collaborations between some retail and some restaurants. And the reason that is significant, at least for us, is that as folks know, a lot of the retails or retail in general is not allowed to be open right now, right? It's just essential businesses and restaurants. And so most of the retail in Little Tokyo are not deemed essential, so they've had to just be closed. And because a lot of them do not have online stores or anything digital, they are just sort of stuck and not really able to conduct business. So we are excited that at least through these Mother Day collaborations, there will be, I think it's something like 20 businesses, restaurants partnering with a retail to be able to do kind of like you can get this beautiful cake and this beautiful apron from Cafe Dulce, a collaboration between Blooming Arts and Cafe Dulce. So things like that are happening, and we're hoping that it can even continue beyond Mother's Day, because at least it is a way for our retail folks in the community to also get some love from the people. A question from Doug, is Tea Master still in business? It is, and they should be on the spreadsheet, but we can double check. Thank you for that.
Tea Master is not open. Their shop is not open, but they are selling goods online, so please support them online. There's on the webpage that you just saw, if you scroll down, it will show all the temporarily closed businesses, so you can find them there. Yes.
Yes, thank you. And thank you to everyone who's utilizing the chat for questions and comments. This is great. We're doing a really great job at our very first remote general meeting. I'm so pleased. So if you have any questions for Kisa, feel free to type it in the chat. And otherwise, we're going to start with our first community org report, and we are going to go to Little Tokyo Service Center. Eric, do you want to unmute yourself, or you did? Perfect. I will share my screen for the pictures.
Okay, so I'll try to keep this not too long, but basically wanted to just go over some of our service responses to COVID-19. So, initially when seniors were told to self-isolate, one of the first things we did was to literally call all of our senior clients, including all 385 residents in Little Tokyo Towers. Basically to check in with them, to do some basic education about COVID-19, and then to do a welfare check, see what the needs are. And based on that, so we then put together, along with the Community Council and KRO, the Little Tokyo Eats program, which is a hot meals delivery program for seniors in the 6 affordable housing buildings in Little Tokyo. I'm sorry, these photos are actually for the food delivery program we have for our low-income housing residents, but it's cool, thanks. Actually, Megan, I think, is going to talk more about the work she and Mariko and Kristen have been doing with small businesses, and she has some pictures of Little Tokyo Eats, both of meal prep as well as delivery, so you can see those photos there. So basically the program is we buy meals from struggling Little Tokyo restaurants at market prices, and then we subsidize them down to $3, a meal for the seniors. And again, we're delivering at Little Tokyo Towers, Miyako Gardens, and then 4 of our buildings, Kasehewa, San Pedro Firm Building, Far East, and the Daimado Hotel. And we do Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And this is dinner because the Koreisha lunch nutrition program for lunch is still in operation. And so we don't want to, disturb their operations. So this is dinner 3 days a week. We've been delivering about over 300 meals a week since the week of April 6th. So we're entering our 4th week coming up. I had earlier asked or sent an email to a lot of the Little Tokyo organizations to just ask them to spread the word for volunteers. So thank you, everybody, because the response was overwhelming. Over 70 people signed up to volunteer for this program, as well as a lot of the other programs that we're doing. So it's really been great, very heartening to see. We also have a food pantry for seniors, so we're getting non-perishable food items, as well as other kinds of donations from food distributors like wonton wrappers and quinoa, although we're having a hard time getting the quinoa out the door, to be honest. So we're delivering about 70 plus grocery bags a week to seniors. And then in addition to nutrition, we've also been worried about kind of the really debilitating effects of social isolation among seniors, right? So we are now organizing small socially distanced activities at Little Tokyo Towers, which include, this photo is chair exercises taking place in the dining room in Towers. Everybody's 6 feet apart. And then thank you so much to Pat and LTCC for opening up the Japanese garden. So we're leading guided meditative walks for seniors in the garden twice a week. So those things have just started up, and then we work with the Towers Property Management Company to revive. They have a closed circuit TV system in Towers, so we kind of, our IT people and folks, work with Towers to kind of revive that, and so we're able to actually broadcast right through residents' cable TV box, programming. And so one of the first things is a concert pianist agreed to put together some classical pieces and Japanese and Korean songs. And so we're gonna I think we broadcast that video last week. And so there's going to be more programming that we can do that way. And then I know that the JCCC team has put a podcast together geared towards seniors as well. So that's really been great. And then among our non-senior affordable housing residents, you know, so many have lost jobs and have had their hours cut, and you know, basically are having to choose between paying rent or buying groceries, right? So we've been putting a pantry together for those residents as well. We were able to partner with, this photo is the group Asian Pacific Islander Forward Movement, and they are a program that works with community supported agriculture farmers, API farmers in the Central Valley. And so they've been delivering produce, fresh produce and eggs to us every Friday. And then we deliver those to our, you know, residents as well as some seniors. And so that's been very cool partnership, and been able to reach a lot of residents, you know, that way. We're also, you know, because you know, the residents, I think the bottom line is for a lot of them is they need cash. They need a cash infusion to be able to pay rent, to pay bills and buy groceries. So we have started up an emergency cash assistance program with priority on residents who are not eligible for unemployment or for federal assistance, which are a lot. And so we're putting that together. I also want to thank, you know, Little Tokyo Community Council for Community Feeding Community. We have been able to refer a lot of our residents, especially Daimato residents, where there are a lot of restaurant workers who are now, you know, laid off, to that program. So that's been great for them as well. And then finally, just changing subjects a little bit, real quick, Budokan, as Kristen mentioned, construction continues. We are still aiming to complete the project and get the keys by the end of May. Obviously, we're not going to be opening the doors to the facility until public health orders allow us to do so, but we're excited to finally reach this huge milestone, and we'll kind of do a social media celebration when we do get the keys, I think, in some fashion. So, that's my update. Again, I think Megan is going to talk more about the small business assistance work, but thanks everybody who's helped out and, you know, helped us round up volunteers and supported our efforts. Thanks.
Great, thank you, Eric. And again, if you have questions for Eric, feel free to put them in the chat. If you are excited about these things, you could, I think there's a participant reaction. You could do like a clappy hand. So feel free to utilize all that. Yes, great job, Kisa. She is clapping for Eric. And oh, good job, everyone. So our next person who will be sharing some of their work, also from Little Tokyo Service Center, is Megan Tadamoto. Megan, have you figured out how to share your screen? And if not, I can share my screen because you sent me your presentation just in case.
Can everyone hear me though? Am I? Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
we could hear you.
No. Great. So Mariko put this together, and I hope you can see it. It's just a little slideshow on the Little Tokyo Eats program that we've been doing in coordination with like resident services and community organizing, as well as the Cato groups for our seniors and low-income residents. So this first page is just Don Tahada and his daughter Jill prepping one of the meals for the week. And we do this Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And the restaurants also deliver to Miyako Gardens, Little Tokyo Towers, and Casa Heiwa. So Suihiro was involved as well. And then we also provide volunteers to the restaurants to provide support for just bagging the meals and everything. Mitsuru Grill has also been involved. And not pictured are other restaurants, like I believe Just Cafe did a rotation once, and I think at some point we're going to rotate in some others. And then I think this was added in later on. This was something that I feel like I should give all the credit to Kristen for convincing Just Cafe for Glenn to bring back the nostalgic shumai and chashu dinner, which sold out within 30 minutes. So it's just a picture of that. And then just to touch on what Kisa mentioned regarding retail businesses, Blooming Art has been partnering with Cafe Dulce to sell their products, so this is just a photo of that as well. So that's basically it. Also, just to mention the restaurant guide that Kisa shared as well. Thank you to Carol Zhao for designing and putting all that together for us. Aside from the Little Tokyo Eats program and the various things that we're involved in, we're still providing technical assistance. Mariko has been providing it in both English and Japanese to a lot of our restaurant businesses here in J-Town and also countywide. And then we're also just following or making sure that we're up to date with the certain like loan programs that are out there for everyone, and trying our best to really help businesses apply for those. I think Mariko is on the line. I don't know, Mariko, if you want to add anything to what I said. Oh, there you go. Okay. So that's it for us. And if you have any questions, just let us know.
Oh, Eric, I see you have a hand raised.
Yeah, real quick. So I think people may have heard about the announcement that Newsom made about a new program with state funds to pay restaurants to provide meals to seniors. So those funds are out, and that program is being administered by cities. And so the City of LA's site for this program just launched today, and basically restaurants can go to that site and sign up to enroll to be the meal providers, as well as seniors can go in there to sign up to get tested for eligibility. So let me see if I can send the link out on the chat. But
Great.
okay.
Thank you. Thank you. And I just want to note, Mariko mentioned in the chat that they send an email to all the restaurant owners in Little Tokyo with a sign-up link this morning. So please check your email. I'm sure we'll try to get to folks in a number of ways. But yes, I think Little Tokyo has proved that this model really works. Shout out to LTCC and Cato for modeling it for the state early on. So yes, great work, everyone. I think one thing I just want to add to what Megan said earlier is one big need that we've noticed is a lot of the businesses. So one thing that's really great and special about Little Tokyo is we are a dense concentration of not just a lot of businesses, but a lot of legacy historic businesses, and that's really unique. But it also means that a lot of these businesses have been around before social media. So are maybe not quite equipped to do the pivot to everything online and digital. So we have, we're trying to assemble teams of volunteers to help support businesses go virtual, go remote. We have 70 volunteers right now signed up on a list, but if you are a person who thinks you know a certain business well enough already, and you want to let us know that you would love to support whatever business, please let me know. You can message us in the chat, or you can email me directly. But yes, that is definitely one need that we're seeing from businesses. Okay, great. Thank you. If you have any other questions for Megan, feel free to throw it in the chat. And now we're going to go to Cato. I believe Brandon Leong is going to share some things with us. Brandon, do you need to share your screen, or are you just going to chat? Okay.
Yeah. Good afternoon, everybody. To piggyback off of what Eric has sort of reported, we're thrilled to be working with Little Tokyo Service Center on LT Eats. I think it's really important to make sure that the older adult residents of Little Tokyo are being served and trying to keep them at home so they're not having to go out and get food. So we're thrilled to be able to work with LTSC on that program. Like everyone else, we've had to pivot all of our in-person programming to virtual. So we're doing daily virtual programs with different community organizations to try to replicate what Cato normally does community education-wise. We've moved all of our in-person major events, such as our upcoming caregiver conference, to a virtual format. So that will still be taking place on May 31st. And obviously, we're still looking at what our fall events will look like. We are coming up with alternative models in the event that we can't do the large in-person events, even in the fall of this year. Throughout the last couple, I guess 2 months now, we've been providing information on COVID-19 in both English and Japanese. And I think right now, recently, we've been having to just kind of dispel a lot of rumors or myths that are being spread, making sure that people are getting the correct information. So those updates are typically taking place on a daily basis on our website, again, in both English and Japanese. We're also working with a number of community organizations throughout Southern California that are serving Japanese American and Japanese seniors to help them institute programs, something as simple as like a phone tree program to help reduce that issue of social isolation among older adults, which is continuing to grow as an issue. And then lastly, we're working with the facilities that Cato used to own. As we all know, healthcare workers are significantly impacted. So we want to help them as much as possible. So we have been providing meals to the workers, working with a couple of Little Tokyo businesses to provide those meals to the hardworking staff in the former facilities. And of course, we're working closely with them to closely monitor any COVID-19 related issues that are taking place. But I know the facilities are working diligently to prevent the spread of any disease. I think that's all the updates I have, unless anyone has any questions.
Great, thank you, Brandon. And again, all questions can be done through the chat, and we will do a quick, open it up for chaos after we get through all the reports, but I'm not going to open it up for a Q&A between each report because, we're trying to make this a somewhat timely meeting. Thank you, Brandon. We're now going to move to JACCC, and I think it's a dual JACCC and Sustainable Little Tokyo report. And Michelle Moreno, are you on the call with us? Do I need to hunt you down in this? Michelle, feel free to unmute yourself, or I could look for you on this list.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, I think I'm that phone number you can't identify.
Hello, phone number.
I'm calling from JACCC, and so our staff lines I have direct numbers, and I don't know which one it is. Is Scott not on this one today?
I'm here.
Oh, okay. Scott, do you want to start?
Sure. So, in terms of COVID-19 response programs, I know Eric mentioned we have the Little Tokyo Little podcast, which is a podcast that comes out every 2 weeks in Japanese, English, Korean, and Spanish, and it is available online on our website or through an app called Bullhorn. It's also available through a call-in system, so you can actually dial in on your phone to listen to the podcast. And it includes haiku poems from our haiku challenge, music, news updates in partnership with Rafu Shimpo. And actually the music's also in partnership with Tuesday Night Project. So please check it out. It's really fun to listen to. And spread the word. We have flyers if you want to pass around to any of your members or share our social. And we also are Shodo for Little Tokyo, the senior calligraphy program. Obviously, since we can't meet, we're doing at-home activities that we're mailing to the seniors, and then they mail back to us to create a little zine, a little publication. We're also sending Shodo calligraphy artworks out to residents the LTCC are working with. We're about to print the first postcards for the resident services to hand out. In good news, JACCC was able to receive some of the relief grants, so the PPP grant and the EIDL grants. And we are currently in process working, yes, yay. We're currently in process working on a virtual program, a consistent virtual program coming out of all of our programs right now. And we'll have more news on that soon. And then the other updates just generally for JACCC very quickly, they're just because of the crisis, we had to cancel our dinner, sadly, which was supposed to be this June. So that's, not to end on a sad note, but oh!
This is funny. I don't know how to undo my own reaction. There is a question from the chat. Which bank did you go through for PPP? And so maybe Scott or Michelle can respond to Rob individually. And then maybe while Scott responds, Michelle can do her side of the report.
Sure. So Scott pretty much mentioned most of the things. I think as an organization, JACCC, because of what's happening with COVID-19, we're trying to look at ways of how we're going to alter the way we do business with regards to things that happen in the theater. So the team's working right now to see what, what rentals will look like in the theater and whether it can be something that instead of having people there, we'll do some kind of live streaming. So our team's trying to come up with creative ideas to still function as a gathering place, but may not be as a physical gathering place. So that is it. I think everyone else has mentioned a lot of things that we have been doing. Questions? Just chat. Thanks.
Great. Thank you, Michelle. Yes, and I guess the sort of nature of these reports right now is Little Tokyo is more collaborative than ever. It's really exciting to see the way people are partnering with each other and supporting each other. And so that's really cute and beautiful and wonderful, but also means, yes, there is some overlap on the reports. So if you're further down the list, sorry, but it's because we're all so amazing and we're all supporting and working with each other. So all these programs are getting lots of shine. Next, we are going to go to Japanese American National Museum. Rick, if you can unmute yourself, and I think you were going to share your screen, or did you want to just chat?
No, I was gonna just chat, and I apologize that you can't see me because I'm having technical difficulties with my camera, so I apologize, but I did want to give some updates on some of the work that the museum is doing, and I've actually asked Joseph Young, also known as Seth, who is our Director of Marketing and Communications, to give an update on our recent annual gala. So fortunately, we pivoted from an in-person gala and did a virtual gala, which we were incredibly thrilled to see that it was very successful, both in the programming and then in our fundraising. So Steph will give some details about that, as well as launching our online programs, Janm at Home. And also Clement Hanami, who many of you know, our Vice President of Exhibitions and Art Director, will talk about a little bit more detail on some of the online programs that we're doing. But quickly, I wanted to just let everybody know that the museum does remain closed to the public, but this has been an opportunity for us to really beef up on our digital programs, and as a national program, as a national institution, we have always wanted to move in this direction. So this has been a great opportunity for us to move in that direction. We are thinking about, how and when we reopen, once the borders are lifted. We know that there's going to be a new reality, so we do have, a task force that is looking at how we will be able to reopen. We are hearing from the field and from marketing reports that people want to get out of their houses and they want to have cultural experiences. So we know that once the orders are lifted, that people will be interested in coming, but they will only come if they feel safe. And so we are looking at all of the precautions for us to be able to ensure that our visitors can come to the museum and feel safe, that we have done all the cleaning and have masks for everybody and all of those issues. So we are looking now at how we're going to open and when we're going to open. But let me stop there, and then I'll throw it over to Seth to talk a little bit more about the gala and our online programs.
Hi, this is Seth. Thanks for having me. Just to share my screen really quick with you. Hold on. So as just like as Rick was saying, we had to quickly pivot. As we know, we had the gala coming up, so we made the decision almost immediately when we closed to take the gala virtually and online. And it was because of this swift decision that allowed us and gave us time to really put our collective heads together and present something and what we think that might look like. Obviously, we didn't have a lot to go on because we looked at other examples of other institutions, and it really hadn't been done to this extent before. So we quickly put it together and went live. We went live on YouTube. We also provided a link directly from our Janm homepage, and it was I think very successful. We had a lot of feedback that came back from it. We had a lot of people that were able to participate when they'd never had before, from different parts of the country and different parts of the the U.S. The success was so great that we actually made more net than we would have if we had a live in-person gala. We also had a tremendous, if you're looking at metrics from virtually, a tremendous click-through rate. And if, for those who know click-through rates, we had a 25% click-through rate for the gala, which is a triple of what is considered a really great click-through rate. So that means a quarter of the people watching click through to either bid for some of the items that we had or donated to the museum. So it was quite a great learning experience, to the fact that we are now considering in the future of incorporating some kind of live virtual element to the actual gala that we'll have in the future. We also quickly, this is another reoccurring theme, really quickly pivoted to offer all of our content online. So we created Janum from Home. So Janum from Home is basically our homepage on our website. So basically what we did was we made the homepage a resource center. So traditionally you would go on the website and we would want you to explore and click around, but because of the circumstances, we made everything available through that first page. So there's really no need to click around and explore. Everything is there. And we offer everything from, we started curating all the content and sharing it through our social media channels. And so we started curating the days, such as, like, for example, Mondays, we would share educational content. Thursdays, we're sharing previous exhibits, future exhibits. Fridays are public programs. We continue to move forward with public programs. We're also collaborating with other organizations. Like we started, we're very aware of what's going on. And so, rather than always just focusing on some of the content in the museum, on Wednesdays, we've partnered with Changing Tides to offer a mental wellness program that we're doing, to encourage people to have that dialogue and really check in on the community on how they're dealing with the current situation. And then that's all I have, and I think Clement could update you on some of the exhibition things that we're doing. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. Nothing much more to add except just check our website and our Facebook page, and we will be announcing all the different programs. There will be a program this Thursday that I'll be doing for Contested Histories at 6 p.m. Check it out. That's it, Kristen. Back to you.
Great. Thank you, Clement. Thank you, everyone from Janum, for sharing all of that. I do not see Francis or anyone from Visual Communications. So, but I know they're about to, if they haven't already, about to launch a lot of things for their virtual month-long programming for a remote film fest. So that'll be really exciting, and hopefully folks can check that out online. I'm now going to go to Andy Lowe. Andy, if you want to do a pretty quick update. Sorry, Andy.
That's okay. Hello, everyone. So I'm Andy Lowe from East West Players. So as everyone knows, we've had a very hard time with this shutdown. The shutdown basically went into effect the day before we were supposed to start having audiences for Assassins, which is the largest production of our season, the musical. So we had invested over $200,000 in rehearsals and hiring performers and actors and construction costs before even having a single audience member step through the door. So that production has been canceled for the time being. And we have also ended up having to cancel our gala, which was supposed to be this last Monday. So we are actually also moving forward with online programming and trying to figure out fundraising efforts to keep the theater running. We will actually be unveiling a series of programs this coming week. So this, can I share screen, Kristen, actually?
Yeah.
Okay. I can show this. So this will be starting off with, oh, is that showing?
Yeah.
This coming Sunday, we're in collaboration with AJ Raphael, who is a performer who has worked with us in the past and YouTube influencer. We'll be offering a online concert, Crazy Talented Asians, which will feature a number of actors who have performed with East West Players in the past. There'll be a great online concert event with opportunities to give and support the organization. We'll also be unveiling an ongoing campaign where we will be offering new content every Wednesday. We're calling it East West Wednesdays, where every Wednesday at 5 o'clock we'll offer a different panel discussion or conversations, some performances or special events every Wednesday throughout Asian Pacific History Month this coming May and possibly into the future. As far as live programming, we are pretty much waiting on word from the Department of Health and the state of California. Like everyone else, we are looking for guidance in terms of what requirements will be needed. I mean, we have a 230 seat venue, and in terms of what social distance measures will need to be taken, what testing measures, we are looking forward for any of those information as they come in, and hopefully that we can reopen. But hopefully we'll be able to announce live programming for the next season for next year in the coming soon. So that is where we are at.
Great, thank you, Andy. And 105, it's okay. We have one final one. I think it'll be pretty quick. Sorry, Stephanie from Kizna, to give you sort of the short end of the stick. But Steph, if you want to do yours, pretty quick.
How come I'm the only one who got the pretty quick notice?
I'm so sorry. I think I said it in my head to everyone.
No, I'm kidding. This will be quick. I just wanted to share a little bit about what Kizuna is doing. I'm going to share my screen really quick where you can find all of the information. And can you see it? I can't see if you can see it. You can?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So what we've done recently is quickly put some programming online for folks who are in our community. So primarily the folks who are in like elementary school. You may have seen that we've started doing live readings, which is here down at the bottom of our page. Every Wednesday we do a live book reading. We started, of course, with Thank You Very Mochi and are now working our way through Japanese children's favorite stories. The order always confuses me, but Japanese Children's Favorite Stories, which is a book that a lot of people have actually reached out to me and said that they own or like haven't read since they were children, so that's been really fun. Miki Okamoto sent us some really cute pictures of Mesa watching it on her big screen. We also have been putting out information about, through a grant through the CCLPEP, that's just a bunch of things that are related to incarceration that includes a bunch of Little Tokyo mementos or, monuments and things. So we did like the mural. We are also doing the Little Tokyo timeline and collaborating. Helen was part of one of our videos. Thank you, Helen, but trying to collaborate with different organizations in the process. And then we have been putting out some easy science experiments that kids can be doing at home with their families during this time that they're stuck at home. So really what we're trying to do is provide resources that folks can be doing with their kids to keep their kids entertained, and are also trying to use the momentum that we're building up now and the information that we're gathering about what works and what doesn't to utilize for our summer programming. So check back on our website at gokizna.org to see what we're doing and to have the most up-to-date information with how we're going to do our summer programs.
Great, thank you, Stephanie. The Wednesday readings are super fun. You don't have to be young to jump on and enjoy them. I've been on a couple, so totally want to encourage that. And we did it. We got through the end of our community reports. It took a bit longer than I expected, but I think it has been a couple months since we as a neighborhood have gotten together and met to talk about what's going on, and I know a lot has changed for folks. I think that although I was ambitious in my planning of it, I am still glad that we did it because it was really nice to hear from everyone but we do only have 22 minutes left. And we did want to talk about regional connector joint development. So hopefully people's brains are ready for this. Before Scott jumps into it, JC, I am going to request that when you do your update, if you could make it 2 minutes instead of 6 minutes, how do you feel about that? Is that possible? I can also share your updates through the chat if you'd like.
I can go through it.
Thank you. Thank you, JC. And you were going to share your screen, right?
Yes. Alrighty, thank you again, and thank you to LTCC and the Little Tokyo community as a whole, just for your continued support through for Regional Connector during COVID-19. For those of you that don't know me, again, my name is JC Montenegro. I'm with the Principal Construction Relations Officer for the Regional Connector project. Most of you are familiar with the project already. Two main things I wanted to cover: a construction update of street restoration currently at the intersection. And then back in March, I was going to give you an update on the service interruption over in Alameda anticipated later this fall. So I'll try to run through those two items as quickly as possible. I'm always available for an individual briefing, so you can always reach out to me, and I'll show my contact information as well. So again, following the CDC guidelines, we are at Metro is in close communication with the health officials, and we're, you can visit metro.net for the latest service adjustments that we are doing. Focusing on this weekend, we have our weekend closure that will be in place Friday through Monday. So after this week, the east half of the intersection for street restoration will be complete, and we'll switch over to the west side of the intersection. So starting Monday, you'll see a closure from on Alameda on First Street from Alameda to Central. So this will be in place from May 4th to August 31st. There are a few weekend closures anticipated in August. One on August 7th will be as needed. And then the last closure, August 28th, will be to pick up the closure and go back to that steady state over at the intersection, and marking the completion of the street restoration for First and Alameda. Moving on to our service interruption, just really quickly, many of you have received this information. Again, the existing station gets demolished to allow for the construction of the underground guideway along Alameda, approximately 20 feet east of the existing station. This work along Alameda can best be described as a mini project in itself. There'll be utility relocation, pile installation, cutting cover work, and then relocation of the goal line ramp at Temple that takes you over the 101 freeway. We did start work on this Alameda guideway last year. However, the remaining work can be done without interrupting service to the line. And again, this is anticipated to begin in the fall of this year. This work, during this time, the gold line will be out of service from Union Station to Pico Aliso. The L or gold line from Pico Aliso to the terminus at Monterey Park will remain in operations. And then from Union Station to Azusa would also remain in operations. We'll replace this, we will have a replacement shuttle service from Union Station to Little Tokyo and to Pico Aliso. You'll learn more about these shuttle service later this summer. And then this is mainly a transitional phase for the project. When construction is complete, the system will reopen under its new operation plan. Operations will also need within that 22-month period, we'll need 5 months to get the system ready for revenue service in fall of 2022. Please keep in mind that the rest of the regional connector alignment will coordinate to be under construction, and street closures are planned to begin street restoration in other areas of the project as well. And lastly, applying lessons from 2016, we're adding more signage, more temporary signage, and provide frequent service and closer to affected communities via the replacement shuttles. So do keep a lookout for that. And then before the closure, we'll definitely have signs up and the bus shuttle stop location map and directions, the bus shuttle diagram and closure information. Again, we'll continue to get the word out about this closure, and any feedback is welcome as we continue to communicate this part of the project, this transition and an important part of the project. Again, thank you for your support. If there's a more detailed briefing needed, feel free to reach out to us. I will share on the chat our upcoming project-wide update tomorrow. I'll share the link to register for that right after this.
Great, thank you, JC. And JC, if you could send me this presentation, I will include it in the notes that get sent out just so folks can review it at their leisure. And again, this is being recorded, so you can later watch the video and get watch it a few times if you really need to process everything that JC just shared with us. So thank you.
Thank you.
As Scott gets ready to set up their now cut in half presentation, just some things from the chat I want to share out. One is Mike Okamoto from Nisei Week shared that the Nisei Week board decided to push the 80th anniversary festival to 2021. So be on the lookout for 2021 activities. Yes. Also, Rick shared that there is a, oh, I lost it because of the screen share. I'm going to put it in the notes. Now that Scott's ready, I'm just going to let Scott jump into it. And then at the end, I will share out all of these things. So Scott, if you want to just go for it, that's fine.
Okay.
I was like, we don't have time. We can do the Scott thing first.
Oh, record. Oh, there we go. Okay. Hello, everyone. Oops. Okay. So I'm going to run through this fairly quickly. I'm going to give an update on the Metro Regional Connector joint development. Metro has now released that they are going to make a recommendation for innovative housing opportunities, one of the 4 developers to be the joint developer for the Metro Regional Connector station. So the quick goal for this is just to get everybody up to speed on what's going on with the joint development. And we will later this week, as soon as we get some feedback from the board, we will release a poll in order to determine LTCC's position on whether or not we accept the recommendation for innovative housing opportunities or we reject it. So I'm going to run through very, very quickly. I'll try to do a very short version so there's time for discussion. I know a lot of folks here may already know some of this, but we know a lot of community actually hasn't heard very much detail about this. So as a reminder, this is the Sustainable Little Tokyo Community Vision that over 200 of our community members developed that focused on 3 pieces of public land, one of which is the Metro Regional Connector Station. And SLT is a partnership between JACCC, LTCC, and Little Tokyo Service Center. So this is just a reminder of this vision. And this is the location. So it is located between Central and Alameda Street on First, across the street from the Japanese American National Museum. I'm sure you're all familiar with the construction site. This is Metro's typical joint development process. I know it's very confusing sometimes, especially with Metro language, so we're going to try to break it down for you. So basically, the first step was community engagement and outreach, which has been completed. And right now, we are at the very end of the second step in the development selection. So Metro did 5 months of community engagement, mostly with Little Tokyo and Arts District, including meetings with LTCC, as you can see in the photo. And then to collect our feedback and what we wanted on that land. And so we shared the SLT priorities, which broadly were human scale, balanced design, making sure this was multi-generational, low density, connected to the rest of the neighborhood, economic vitality, so supporting small and legacy businesses, and with affordable commercial spaces, strong community fabric, so really connecting to our historical and cultural roots as a Japan town, mobility and linkages, connections to the rest of the neighborhood, and then of course, sustainability or motainai. So Metro's team, after all of that community outreach, came back to us with this opportunity overview, which is basically a report that shares sort of the general information for the station site and what the community's priorities were. So Metro's interpretation, what they came back to us with were these priorities, which overall are, kind of broadly aligned with SLT's vision, but obviously there are specifics that we would like to see in the future development. And you can see the full report. I'll be sharing this slideshow with the notes as well, and you can actually access the full report also on Metro's website, but I have links included. So after releasing this overview, they then started the RFIQ and RFP process. And I know that that sounds very confusing. There are a lot of letters. And so what that really means is that Metro basically invited developers to show that they're qualified for this project, which is an RFIQ. And 8 developers submitted. They eventually invited 4 of the most qualified developers to submit proposals, which are called requests for proposals or an RFP. And now Metro is recommending one of those developers to Metro Board as the joint developer. So the call for proposals, or the RFP, the request for proposals, asked developers to show what their vision was, what was the design, how does it benefit community, is this feasible, etc. And currently, all the 4 developer proposals are not available to the public. The 4 proposals were submitted by these 4 developers. So Little Tokyo Service Center, Center Urban, Kaji and Associates, and Innovative Housing Opportunities. They were shared at an open house in October of last year and then presented again to LTCC in November of last year. And those presentations and those slideshows are pretty much the information that we have on their proposals. So I'm going to run very quickly through the 4, just as a refresher of what they were. I'm not going to go into detail, but you can obviously look at the full PDF presentation online. So Little Tokyo Service Center, of course, many of us are familiar with, is also a partner of SLT, had proposed this development. The quick overview is that it was mostly retail and community space, really affordable retail space for legacy businesses, and automated parking to subsidize the retail rent, and an art gallery. The Center Urban Real Estate Partners, this is their proposal. It included a food hall with 22 kiosks, additional retail space, creative offices, a historic cafe, a plaza, mobility hub. Kaji and Associates, we don't have very much information, but we know that it was a 17-story hotel with commercial space, that there was also potential for what were called retail condos for purchase so that people could own property. But based on the presentations and material online, there's not very many details that I could actually find, aside from our notes from the presentations. And this is Innovative Housing Opportunities, also IHO. IHO is who Metro is recommending to be the joint developer. So IHO was formed in 1976, focusing on quality affordable housing, mostly in Irvine, later expanding to the SoCal region, mostly in OC and in Los Angeles. Their proposal is the only one that included housing with 78 units. There's retail space, space that's discounted for legacy businesses, a plaza, gallery space, etc. And then just very quickly, here are 2 of their projects in process in the LA area. It seems like most of IHO's projects are affordable housing. They do have one that's in the works in South LA that's mixed use, similar to what this would be. But they do not have experience working in Little Tokyo specifically or with Metro joint development projects, but they have a lot of experience with affordable housing. And these are the scores that Metro shared in their board report of how the 4 developers ranked. So very quickly, we don't actually know who was on the panel. We don't know the criteria, so we don't know how or why developers were rated the way that they were in each of these categories. So we have a lot of questions from Metro just to get a better understanding of why IHO was selected. And here's the second page with Ekibashi, which is Kaji and Associates and LTSC actually ranking the lowest. Very quickly, some of the concerns that we've heard so far are that Metro had verbally discouraged housing from any of the development proposals and then ended up selecting the only proposal with housing. So there's some confusion about what Metro staff had been recommending. And then obviously some feedback. LTSC has more than 40 years of experience working and developing in Little Tokyo. So there is confusion also about why they were not selected. So there are some general questions about how Metro had done the scoring that Metro needs to respond to. Some things that we want folks to think about. I know this is very quick, but what are your thoughts and concerns about this process, everything that I described in the scoring? What are your thoughts on the recommendation for IHO? Does this proposal really meet our vision and priorities? If not, what do we want changed? And what are other questions that we have? So these are just some considerations for us to think about together. I can pull that back up as we discuss. But what we're eventually going to release is a poll, which lays out these two options. We accept Metro's recommendation for IHO with a couple of conditions. This is what we have learned from a couple of initial meetings with smaller LTCC groups and committees and PCPC, that we want to see all of the RFP documents, all of the proposals, the criteria, how it was scored, who was on the panel. And we would like LTCC and Little Tokyo to really determine some of the community process, which I won't go into detail today. If we accept, some things to consider on the right column is, does it meet our priorities? This is going to require obviously a lot of organizing and advocacy. And IHO must be willing to work with and listen to our community, and that we also need things in place to make sure that they do. The option number 2 is that we reject or petition Metro's recommendation for IHO, which would require the creation of a new call for proposals, or RFP, based on our feedback. The 4 proposers would have to resubmit entirely new proposals, and this would repeat this entire community process. So things to consider for that is, again, similar to the other way, it's still going to require a lot of work on our end. This could potentially delay the Regional Connector project 16 or more months, because that's about how long this process took. It was scheduled to take, but realistically, this actually took 2 years to get to the point where we are today. And another thing to consider is that while this could, potentially lead to the recommendation of LTSC or improved proposal that really meets our vision, but none of that is guaranteed, and that we should kind of look back to the scores and remember, how this Center Urban was actually rated number 2. John Kaji's hotel was rated number 3, and LTSC was number 4. So we have these 2 options. And we are going to release a poll as soon as we're going to, fine tune the details and some of the information that we share. We're going to post this video online as well, so people can listen to me presenting it. So we will release that. We're hoping to release it online on Friday. The next steps are during the next month, we are going to be continuing to do presentations and do this online poll to determine our position. We've already requested Metro to push their recommendation to June to give us more time. Currently, it's slotted for the end of May. We are meeting with Metro this Thursday with some LTCC representatives and LTBA and SLT. We are scheduling a meeting with IHO and Metro. And then, of course, we're continuing to advocate for a community process. For Metro next steps, they obviously are doing the recommendation to board. Then they enter a contract process called an exclusive negotiations agreement. They form an advisory committee with community called a DRAC and begin community outreach, and eventually, obviously, satisfy the contract, do the joint development agreement, ground lease, and it's open. So those are the next steps.
Construct.
That's a lot, yeah, and yes. So this is my contact information. I am the primary LTCC contact for the Regional Connector Joint Development. This is our Metro contact, Nicole. If you have any information, this slideshow will also be available online. So that is a lot, and tried to not short enough, but we did want to open up for some conversation and questions. I'm looking through the questions. Okay, no, there aren't any. Okay, so.
Yeah, thank you so much, Scott. That was a great presentation. Very comprehensive, very cute. It is 1:28. I was hoping to end this meeting at 1:30. So I think what we'll do is we'll just really quickly see if there's anything super pressing that people want to either say or have questions about. You or again, also welcome to use the chat. I also just want to say we are planning to continue this conversation. It's mostly been in smaller groups so far, but we really did want to start opening up to get other folks' thought. Another thing is that the poll Scott mentioned will be out fairly soon. So that's definitely another way folks can submit their comments, and maybe Scott will just create like a blank area for folks to fill in any of their comments.
Yes.
For all of these different things. So maybe just with the last 2 minutes, if anyone wants to unmute themselves and ask a question or give a comment, this is a good time for that. Or you can also use the chat function.
Yeah. You can raise your hand, you can put something in the chat, or just unmute yourself.
Yes, let me know if you raise your hand.
And some prompts, as I mentioned, are, what are our thoughts and concerns on this process, on this recommendation for IHO? Are there any other thoughts that you want to share with the group? I see Mia raising her hand.
I wanted to know, was there any reasoning given for why LTSC was rated so low, or why,
No, I mean, what we are guessing is that that LTSC took a little bit of a risk in including parking, because Metro is obviously trying to move away from parking, but we have not really seen, obviously, the criteria or why any of the developers were scored the way that they were. So no, we don't really know. That would be something that we would need more information from Metro.
Thank you, Mia. But that is on our list of questions to ask. Any other quick comments, questions, things they would like to say?
Looks like Alan.
Scott, was there a oral interview that took place as well as the scoring for the 4 candidates?
Oh, are there actual interviews? Are folks here, anyone from Metro LTSC, do you know if there were actually in-person interviews with the developers?
I'm not sure if there was. Maybe John knows.
I hadn't heard if there were, but there may have been.
Okay. Usually that's part of the process with the 4 finalists.
Yeah, I'll put that, I'll write this in the comments.
Okay.
Any other questions? I know that was a lot to take in.
I think John Kaji just responded no to interviews.
Okay. Okay, yeah, John Kaji said no, there were no interviews. Okay, I see that.
Right, because the process was sort of a different kind of process that they used for this whole activity. So I think we need to get really behind what all the different steps were.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to do a last, sorry, I know it's a lot to digest, and I made Scott run through that at probably 3 times the speed they meant to originally go through it. Sorry, Scott, but thank you, you did a good job. So since it is 1:32, and I imagine other people's brains feel about where my brain does, which is a little bit busted, if there are no further urgent questions or comments or things they want to say regarding joint development, I would say we will get back to you all soon with the presentation that Scott just shared, the poll that Scott mentioned, just some other information, and give folks a chance to continue to engage, and we will figure out the best way to continue this conversation with everyone in the community, because I know for some of you this might be the first time you're really seeing all this information, and it is a lot to digest. So yes, so I'm gonna do one. Oh yes, Reverend Bill.
I just want to let you know that we're going to have a stakeholders meeting for Mangrove.
Yes, thank you.
On May 12th at 3 o'clock. Hopefully we can get everyone together at that time. But Evelyn and hopefully Scott and Jane Kawakami and Jeff Yamamoto will be meeting this Thursday to discuss the direction we'll be going for this meeting. Okay.
Great. Thank
That's
you,
it.
Reverend Bill. Appreciate that. Yes, despite everything happening, we are still moving forward with our community control campaigns. Mangrove is one that the community has been looking at for a very long time. So we postponed our April gathering, but the May 9th or May 12th one is back on track. So Reverend Bill, Jean, and Evelyn will be reaching out to folks about the information for that meeting. First Street North will also be going through some things, and we will be sharing that later. If there are any other announcements or things people want to mention, you have the chat, or you could very quickly unmute yourself and do a 30-second a 30-second update or announcement. And if there is nothing else, I am going to end this meeting. Thank you so much, everyone. I recorded this so we can save it for posterity as our first ever remote general meeting. And this was really fun. And we will talk to you all soon. Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thank you.